what is, not so much about how to trade an individual stock. Whoops. How to trade an individual stock. Whoops. How to trade an individual stock. Whoops. Or elsewhere. Okay. Now, any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results, and Nadex contracts are based on underlying asset classes, including forex, stock index futures, and commodity futures. Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. Okay. Now, with that being said, my favorite part of the entire presentation is the top 3 news of the week. All right. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with what we do, what I'll do is I break down the top 3 biggest news releases. Now, just so this is out there, in my opinion, news releases don't actually move price. All they do is act as a catalyst, and they move price to where it would have went before the news came out. Okay, it would have got there. It just taken a lot longer to do it. So for me, I'm very, very much a news trader. I love news. I think it's great for the fact that I can literally say, hey, listen, you know what? On Friday morning at 8:30, I know there's something that potentially could move the market big. And for me, what I do is I break it down. These are my top 3 news releases of the week. And I try to pick different countries or different times. This week, it just happened to be that 2 are loaded with the United States. There's no guarantee that these forecasts are going to miss, but I will give them a somewhat higher than normal percentage of I guess probability that we may have a miss. And even if we don't, we will probably have some market movement because they are big, high quality releases, considered high impact. First one is going into Friday is going to be U.S. retail sales. U.S. retail sales is extremely important for the market because it's basically what is the consumer buying, okay? Um, One of the larger kind of leading indicators into the markets. It's especially going into the kind of the holiday season. Again, retail sales is one of my favorite numbers to trade. Now, Wednesday is also extremely important. CPI. Okay. Anytime you're talking about CPI, we're talking about inflation. Inflation directly has to relate back to interest rates. Interest rates not only affect the stock market, but they also affect the dollar tremendously. Okay, so excellent, excellent, excellent trading opportunity. Again, it's at 8:30 in the morning. So it can really establish where the market's going to move for that day if you're an indices trader. Now, Thursday night, I'm going to mix it up on you guys a little bit. I'm talking about the Aussie unemployment rate and employment change. Now, again, it's basically their version of non-farm payroll, but for the Australian market. Now, again, one of the nice things about trading Australian news at night, and you guys have heard me say this more than once if you ever attended the morning sessions, was the fact that because Aussie news is at night, you don't have US traders and US money and really even European money out there. So it's just the kind of Asian money, again, Australia and Japan. Absolutely great trading opportunity. If you're not trading it at night, get in there and try it out. Okay, some of these news releases are great, and if you match it with the correct binaries, absolutely some of my favorite things to trade. Okay, so those are my top 3 opportunities for the week. What I want to do is I want to actually run through the week and kind of, again, this is where I start my analysis for trading, but also I want to run through the week and kind of get a kind of an overall game plan, right, going into the week, because again, it's Monday night. So today you can see we had a lot of pound data, and again, the pound was really the only thing reacting today because we were more or less flat for the day. But going into tomorrow, we have some interesting data. Pound news very, very early. This average earning, not really a huge mover, so I'm not too focused on it. And then again, we have a little bit of FOMC data, but tomorrow night is when we start having some very interesting data. Now, wage price index for the Aussie, that can tend to be a bit of a mover. New Zealand is another one. Now, we're expecting a rate cut in New Zealand. Now, I know that you cannot trade in a New Zealand dollar inside with Nadex, but a lot of times what happens with New Zealand tends to happen with the Australian dollar as well. So there will typically be some spillover effect with some type of a rate cut. And again, because they're geographically located in a similar region, a lot of times when you see New Zealand data, it will affect the Aussie dollar as well. Okay, so just kind of a little side note there. There may be some trading opportunity tomorrow night in the Aussie dollar because of this news. Now, going into Wednesday. Wednesday, we start off at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the pound CPI. Very, very important. Okay, this is a number that also has the ability to move things around. Obviously, Brexit is what dominates right now, the pound situation. But again, they've been keeping themselves out of a recession, and something like CPI and inflation definitely kind of stacks into that. They're not cutting interest rates, they're not raising interest rates, they're kind of holding firm. But again, if this number gets a little bit wonky, hey, we can start seeing some movement in the pound. And again, there's really not a whole lot moving the pound right now besides some Brexit talk and a couple news releases. Besides that, it's more or less flat. 8:30, we go into the U.S. CPI. Again, very, very important number. Okay, and if you guys see, the click is not working today on the site. But again, this is one of those news releases that when it misses, and it misses, more often than not, great trading opportunities at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, going down, we have Chairman Powell testifying. Powell's always worth, he can always have, some potential fireworks that are around him. So just be cautious in any of your positions that you have on. Don't forget that 10:30 in the morning are the typical reversal times. It may be a little bit slower on Wednesday just because Powell is speaking. Okay. And again, 7:30 at night, that's where we have the unemployment change and the unemployment rate coming in. Again, two great releases. They're kind of stacked on top of each other, so it's considered one release. It's Australia's version of non-farm payroll, which is by far the most, kind of influential kind of monthly release that is out there. All right. So again, great for the Australian dollar traders. Going into Thursday, we have pound retail sales. Now again, this is if with my top three, this is probably a very, very close four. I know it's super early. If you're on the West Coast, maybe it's a little bit late. If you're on the East Coast, it's a little bit early. If you're anywhere else in the world, again, it's probably a good time for you to trade these things. But again, the forecast is a 0.2, and last time it came in as a 0, completely flat. Seeing retail sales ticking up, that's great for the pound. That's going to bring some pound strength in there. And one of the things, and I'll show it to you in the chart, we've had the euro pound really kind of hovering at more or less a yearly low right now, right? Or kind of far down from where we've been all summer. We get some strength in this thing. This could really start breaking some levels to the downside. So there could be some really great trading opportunities with this retail sales number. And again, we go back down, we see PPI, which again, that fluctuates between a medium and a high release. I don't think it's going to be very big this time, just because again, with Powell testifying, people will be kind of hinged on what he's saying. 11 o'clock on Thursday, and again, because of the holiday today, crude oil inventories was bumped back one day. So it's 11 a.m. on Thursday, not Wednesday this week. And again, don't forget, you can trade commodities with Nadex, all right? Nadex binaries on crude oil. One of my students, he just absolutely loves them. I mean, he has multiples every week. He's posting stuff about different setups he has on crude oil. Great, great way to trade oil. If you're brand new to oil, Nadex is a wonderful way to do it. So don't hesitate to check that out on Thursday morning at 11. And then at 9:45, the BOC is speaking. I don't expect too much movement from that. I think they're kind of on the borderline-ish recession. That's just my personal opinion on there. But I don't think, even though it's considered a high-impact release, I don't think we'll get too much. I think everybody will wait until Friday when we have core retail sales for the United States. Now, it is a single release, meaning that there is no other kind of counterbalance. A CAD medium release, somebody speaking is not going to, kind of debunk that or whatever. But I think it will be interesting. Both numbers are expected to be a little bit higher, showing good kind of selling. If these two numbers come in negative like they were last time, whew, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a negative weekend. Not a negative weekend, but I don't think Friday would be great for the indices if this number comes back, comes in bad. So typically it does tick up a little bit. Again, you're having your month over month. You're getting your kind of your fall, kind of seasonal change, kind of bumps in there. So I don't expect it to be horrible, but again, if it does come in as a surprise, I don't have a crystal ball. I would expect that the indices are going to be down for the day and we're going to have some movement in the dollar. All right. So just be cautious of those things. So with that being said, let's jump into the charts. Okay. This is my favorite part of the presentation. All right. So going in. Okay. Aussie yen is a very interesting situation. Okay. Like I said, we have some Aussie news this week that I think is going to provide some nice opportunity. Now, this one had a little bit of a gap on Sunday. And for those of you that have followed me, you guys know that I have a Sunday night gap strategy, and this one actually fulfilled it and then kind of moved. But it wasn't a huge mover this week. It was a little bit more muted. And again, not a whole lot going on. This one is still in a reactionary phase. You guys can see this kind of blue area and the dots. This is where we bounced off of last Thursday. And since that time, it's just been retracing. And the market ended here. We went into Friday. And then since that time, it's moved a little bit. I mean, we basically have one little bump here. and then just sideways movement. So where it is right now, it's actually sitting in an area of buyers. I kind of like when charts and prices are in areas of buyers and sellers when we have news. We'll see how much movement it has till tomorrow, but going into some of the larger Aussie news releases this week, I would say that I'm probably a bit more bullish in this one. Now, one of my favorite strategies is a news breakout strategy, and I use Nadex binaries for that because I'm able to keep the risk a little bit lower. Okay. Again, you guys saw it inside of inside of the disclaimer. Again, when you're buying a binary, obviously you can only lose what you put into the trade. Hence why I like taking these because I'm able to control my risk and use a little bit farther out of the money position. And I'll use that for buying or selling. This one this week, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards being a little bit more bullish, but again, we'll see what happens with news time. We have some time before that. And again, the reason I'm doing that is because of this area right here. You guys see that area right there? Again, price came down, gave us a retrace, and then that started this entire rally up. And it's had two attempts to put the push lower and held, and now we're running into an area right now. So nice little area there. I do like that one. If you guys are looking at it on the daily, again, nice bounce off this daily supply zone. Came down, and again, we're sitting inside of these ascending wicks. This is one of my favorite patterns to show where buyers are. You guys can see these two candles right here. This lower red and then this higher green. Until we get past that one, I'm not looking to get short, and even if we were, there's another area right below it. So in this one, I think we're reaching the basically the profit target from the original short from last Thursday, and again looking for some type of a bounce, most likely back to the top side. Okay, looking at Aussie yen. I'm sorry, Aussie dollar. So this one had the same kind of turn, right? Now this red line was a profit target. This gold line was a second profit target for us. We actually just hit this. This is for my students' chart schools. But you can see, again, we bounced off this same type of peak that we had before. Okay, now this was based off of a 4-hour zone, and prices rallied all the way back to the downside. Okay, now we do have a little bit more to go. There's a little bit of a pattern here, but I'm very, very cautious of this level down here at 68.20. And again, last time the price came down, if you look to the left, it's in the middle of a long extended range bodied candle. There's not really a whole lot of kind of telltale signs that there's buyer there. But what we do, we had some basing, some sideways movement, and then boom, an explosion out the top side. So it's definitely an area in here that I need to watch out for. Okay, I'm not going to turn this red because it's not a sell, but we'll turn it blue for kind of a precautionary. And you can see again on the 4-hour, you can see the zone, right? Popped here, up, came back down, based, and then that was what led to this rally. So I'm looking for this area here over at 68.21 as a potential area for somewhat of a reversal. It's going to do one of two things. One, that's going to act as a buying area, and we're going to pop, get some type of a confirmation to the top side. Or, here's my technical term, and you guys have heard this before, we're going to have a momentum breakout to the downside, and we're going to have that Harry Potter trade that I talk about, right? That kind of lightning strike where we break the zone, we retest it, and then continue to push farther. Now, as far as that momentum trade, I am a little bit more cautious about that because you can see down here, as we marked off last week, we have 3 areas of buyers. Okay, so if we do break through this zone, we really only have, again, even if it pulls back, we really only have about 25, 30 pips before the first zone, about 50 pips before the second zone, and about 70 before kind of the ultimate target on that one. Okay, so it's there, but we got some kind of speed bumps we're gonna have to kind of push through. So we'll see what it does when it reacts off this zone. Again, any type of confirmation to the top side potentially be going long. If we can drive into this zone before the news releases, I'm all over that. I like that one. Okay, I'm a big fan of that one. And another thing too, I want to point out on this one, there again, it is a 4-hour zone that I'm looking at right here. So if price does, for some reason, start to rally back up again before we get news, and then we get a spike into this zone, this could be a great level for a parabolic retracement. Okay, for those of you that attended that webinar, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, for somewhat of a retracement to the top side. Now, looking at euro pound, I mentioned that just a second ago. All right, so you can see really, really consolidated, very, very small, a pop, trace back up again, and then again today, we had some movement, some pound strength coming in here, and a lot of this has to do with the pound basically being able to hold itself out of a recession, just barely, but it's holding out of that recession. Again, gave us a little bit of strength there. They're not cutting rates or anything, right? And again, we've had a little bit of a retest. It came back up. It grabbed the level it was supposed to and has pushed back to the downside. Now, very interested in this pair this week for a couple reasons. Now, you can see there's a lot of gold bars underneath of it. There's 2 different zones in here, and again, on this one, it was probably better over here. I should probably change the color of these to make it a little bit easier to see. But as I'm talking about that, 2 areas right below where we are, right? So for me, what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out, are either of these two going to act as a bounce? And I'm looking for some type of a new spike into them. Now, this zone didn't quite get hit. It did come down a little bit lower, right? It came up and it pulled back up, and you can see there was a prior zone here. So if I continue this zone across to there, you can see it's kind of doing that bit of a Harry Potter, right? We broke through, we're pulling back up again, and now it's starting to head out the downside, okay? Now, there is a smaller trade in here. There is a way to take a little bit smaller risk on this one to kind of look for this as a profit target. The 85.50 range, again, it is a psychological level. It does end in 5.0. So again, where we are now, it's only about 30 pips. It is not a huge mover. I would expect not a lot of movement until we get down to news time. But there's a couple ways you can play this. If we get into news time and we're still hovering around this area, this was a prior level of buyers and is now acting as a level of sellers. These are great little setups. If you can catch a call spread at the kind of the ceiling area, again, you can limit your risk on this one and take it and trade it very, very similar to what, just like it was spot currency or anything else out there, right? It'll give you that kind of value. Another thing too is, again, if you can jump onto the smaller smaller kind of duration binaries, you can also get something in there for a little bit less risk as well to the downside. Now, again, be cautious if you're going to use the dailies. Again, it is only about 30 to 30, about 40 pips to the downside. So you're going to have to get a little bit closer to to at the money, but that does also increase your risk in a trade. Remember, if you're at the money, you're more or less 50 risk, 50 reward type trade. It requires your accuracy be a lot higher versus using something that has a little bit less risk. Okay. Totally personal preference. Everybody's world is different. It's entirely up to you. My personal preference is I prefer the little bit out of the money. I'll take I'll take the risk that we're going to get a little bit more movement on it, and again, take my profit when we hit the appropriate zone. Okay, now you guys are going to figure that out on your own. Now, looking across at euro yen. Now, euro yen today, looking across, you guys can see pound yen had a great day. Okay, euro yen, it was okay, right? We didn't get tons in there, right? We were calling for a Harry Potter, but we never really got it, right? We talked about a pop below, and all it did was it came down, it tagged the kind of the bounce target and shot straight back up again. But now we're starting to see that where we're starting to get a little bit more of a bounce to the downside. But I would say, looking at this one on the daily, we're still kind of in that sideways trend. We did gap down. Wasn't really the greatest gap. I was hoping for a little bit more. I was hoping we would gap past this gold bar, but it didn't. It literally bounced off of it, and then we had the gap. On the daily, you can see we basically closed right on top of it in that first 4 hours. So a little tiny bit of a pop, drop, and then sideways. But we're exactly where we were on Friday, as you guys can see. This little green candle right here is our Friday wick and body, and here's where we are right now. So really, in essence, we took a big kind of push down and then a push right back up again because of news, and then we're exactly where we were Friday. So not quite the same movement in this one as we had inside of the euro pound. Again, Monday without a whole lot of news, it's just being a little bit more flat on this one. I'd like to see a very clean break of this area. Profit targets on this one, if you're going to look at this, the downside would be 119.62. Area to the top I'm looking for is kind of, I do like the way that this is formed here. Now this has been this is a lot of candles, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles in this kind of area here. But one thing I like about this, and this goes really back to understanding price action, we have a wick here, a lower wick, a lower wick, a lower wick, a lower wick, and a lower wick. When you're creating this type of kind of, like fuzzy caterpillar, right, to the downside, that's showing you that there's sellers, 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 and then sellers sitting in this one right here. So this isn't a bad area. And again, using the kind of predefined risk, again, there's some potential trade setups coming off this area at 120.63 to 120.75. It's about a 12 pip zone, so it's very, very small. Ideally, we'd like to get that on a spike, but the way that this one kind of drove down, if we can get enough, power to push back up again, I'd potentially be looking to take some shorts off that area. Okay. Now, looking at euro dollar. Up right quick. All right, so euro dollar. This one is driven all the way back to the downside. Okay, we've pushed all the way back down, and we're starting to approach levels where we need to start looking for buying opportunities. Okay, as you can see, last week we had a couple different targets to the downside. We had one here, and the ultimate one was this top green line, and we've turned and kind of flipped a little bit. All right, and again, kind of doing the same thing we saw in the euro yen. We saw a little bit of movement and a little bit of a pop, but it really hasn't changed too much, right? You guys can see that here's the Friday candle. And again, we had a little bit of a push up, and then just kind of starting to pull back down again. So not really a whole lot of directional movement. If you're looking at it on the daily, we do have what's called a downtrend setup, looking for some type of an entry level. And this was a 4-hour zone that we had talked about last night in my group, and we got super close and didn't quite make entry on it. Okay. That happens sometimes, and we joke about it, like, oh, we missed it by a few pips, and it's true. Okay, our entry was at this level here at 110.50, or at 110.45, and we only got to 110.42. So sometimes that happens. We end up getting front run. We miss the position. We were looking for a short to go lower. Again, didn't quite get there. Looking at right now, any of the zones, there was a bit of a small entry here earlier today. You guys have heard me say this before, but here's a failure to go higher type situation. Had you been watching this one triggered at about 11:30 a.m. Eastern time today. We had a nice kind of turning point. Again, got front run, pushed down, pulled back up again, failed to go higher, and then dropped. And now it's about up. I mean, we're talking about what? From 27, talking about 10 pips lower than where we are right now. Nothing explosive, slightly grindy. And again, looking at this one for the day, it's only moved 10 pips in the last 24 hours. So not really a huge position or a huge mover right now. There's not really a whole lot, more we can talk about on that one, right? Again, I wouldn't say that I'm bullish or bearish. I'm kind of neutral at this point on this one. Again, downtrend setup, but it's going into an area where we've seen buying pressure. So again, I don't like selling into an area of buyers. It's just personal preference. Going across to pound yen. So pound yen, as you guys can see, this one has moved about 80 pips, which is less than its daily ATR. Its daily ATR is about, let's see, it was 115-ish last week. Let's go across to our true average range, and actually I guess we're down to 108, right, for this one right now. So again, all this flat movement is actually kind of sucked it back down again. This one had a little bit of a rally, and as you guys can see, we had a level of basing here kind of marked off, and we tagged it earlier today. I'd actually hit it about 7:30 this morning, and then there was a bit of a drop to the downside. Not a huge mover. It only moved about double what the risk was. You would have had to use some shorter term binaries. This one triggered at about 11 o'clock this morning, and we had, let's see, only a run of about 37. But again, that's 3.5. That's 3.5 strike prices on a 2-hour binary. Okay, to the downside. What I'm looking for in this one is I'd like this one to rally a bit more. Okay, we've had attempts up into our selling zone, haven't quite gotten there, right? This 141.00, again, big psychological level because it has 2 zeros on there. There's been plenty of opportunities to get short in here. I'd really like to get something up in this level. Now, I'd like it if it was a little bit, we had a little bit more time, right? Unfortunately, this pair is not a touch bracket pair. The pound yen or the pound dollar is, the pound yen is not. This would be one of those ones that I really like it if it was, but when we come up back in this area, I think there's going to be some nice little short positions that we can take off this one. Again, you got to understand what you're entering with. For me, late in the week, probably not as much of a spread trade for me because, again, I want some time for it to be able to unfold. But there's a lot of potential this week with a couple of these, again, the pound retail sales numbers. Looking across here, again, average earnings, no, but CPI on Wednesday morning could potentially give us that pop we need. Looking at retail sales on Thursday could also give us that potential pop. So Wednesday and Thursday of this week, two great opportunities to be able to trade this position. Again, if we get just a little bit of a pop, definitely looking for some binary action there. All right, definitely liking that one. And again, make sure you control your risk. All right, don't get too crazy with this one. Would not, me personally, again, everybody has to trade their own accounts. You're responsible for your own trades, but I would not be using it at the money if we got back up in this zone. I'd be using something a little bit lower, control my risk, and actually setting. For me personally, I would also be setting a working order, take it off a little bit, probably before we get back into this zone. All right, back into the. Probably the one, 140 is not bad, but I'll probably use 139.75 ish in this area is what I'll be using as a profit target. So I'll be looking to kind of take over something along those lines. Okay, if we can get up into this zone or get some type of a pop into that zone. All right. All right, looking at pound dollar. Now, pound dollar is a touch bracket pair. Okay, so what I'm finding, and again, I don't have as much experience with touch brackets as I do with calls and call spreads and binaries, but I'm starting to get more and more into the positions just because it's giving me a little bit more time to be correct. And again, it's just because you do what you're used to, and people don't like change. But one of the things that I like about this one, again, this is at a few opportunities. You guys can see it right here, right? We had this level of basing right here, right? There's your level of basing. There's your pop, and again, it's not a perfect draw. Right, there's the perfect draw. from the top this wick. You can see it came across and there was a bit of an entry and then it kind of got really, really slow. Okay. This was also another kind of spike up with price, right? Starting from about 5:30 this morning. I mean, went crazy at 7 o'clock and then it started to kind of pull back down again and really kind of start to flatline. Now, if you're in this position, again, you may want to take profit. Again, potentially lower down here. Had you taken this one, again, for touch brackets, this was actually not a bad touch bracket trade. We have 3 days till expiration, actually 4 days till expiration still. I guess we're into the 4-day countdown. But looking up here on the top side, it's over here, what, 128.80? There were some positions with kind of top side that were pretty nice over there. Especially on this spike up to here where it's up to basically 129. There was actually a touch bracket on this one, a 129.41, which gives you a little bit of risk in there. But again, with this price kind of pulling back down again, it's about what, 90 pips? 90 pips already down in your direction. And again, that one is, kind of treated like a spread right now. So not a bad little kind of spike on that one, especially earlier in the week. Again, what I like about that one is the fact that it gives you the longer duration versus a binary. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for this position. Again, downtrend setup on the daily. It did pull back up into a 4-hour. I expect this one again to have some more bursts, and then it'll go flat after that. Just because again, everybody's exhausted because of Brexit. All right, but do like this one more to the downside. Still bearish this position. Again, if we get somewhat of a close below the 128.40 or 128.50 area, right in the spacing area, I'd be looking at another kind of stumbling block over here at 120. What is it? 128.30, and then we're clear down to 128.04, basically 128 flat, which would be obviously right here at the start of this move. Okay, that's where we were. Now, for those of you again that know the Sunday night gaps, guess what we had here? We had another Sunday night gap play all the way to the top side. It actually went past where the projected target would be. Okay, if you guys know that one, again, if you guys don't know that one, hang around. I'll kind of share it in pieces. But again, nice Sunday night gap play all the way back up. Great little run. Even some nice movement on that one. With entry here, about 90 pip movement. So that was a nice one. That was a nice little grab. But again, at this point, I am now flipped. I am now looking bearish, and I am now looking for price to run back down to the 128 flat area. Okay. Dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss only down about 28 today. Again, not a huge position, and again, a lot of that has been retracing. You guys can see in the last hour, this one is up 0.08%. So again, we'll expect to see a retrace on the chart, and that's what you can see. You can see that this one has been pulling down to the downside. Now, this is a level we marked off last week. Okay, we talked about if we could break this zone up top. Again, there's a couple different ways to get into the entry on this one. Again, it was a failure to go higher situation. It was a daily zone. It would also corroborated with a 4-hour zone. And last time we hit that area, literally price shot straight back down again, pulled away pretty strong from it. So again, it's in this area playing with wicks, right? And again, nice movement. I mean, 44 pips to the downside in a day is not a bad position. If you're using, again, out of the monies, gives you a little bit better of a risk to reward ratio on this one versus using something like an at the money. Had you been at the money, you really didn't take too much risk. If you'd been doing an at the money up here on the flip, again, price move 2 strike prices lower, so you would have been okay on that position. Where we are now, again, it is pulling back from a higher time frame selling zone. Okay, so I'm trying to see what it's doing. The way that it's reacting to me right now is this is its impulse move and this is its correction move. It's starting to look for more orders so it could turn and flip and sell. We'll see. Again, with news this week for the U.S., again, going into tomorrow, not a lot of U.S. news, but going into Wednesday, again, this is where we'll see dollar strength or dollar weakness coming out of this CPI number. Because again, inflation is directly related to interest rates. Interest rates directly relate back to the dollar. Unless there's any type of geopolitical event in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, this one will be waiting for some data to start getting some really, some big legs on it. Now, to the downside, you guys can see also here we have this area marked below, and this area is 98.60 down to 98.35, which is kind of a bottom side for me, right? I could draw the same thing here. I could duplicate this and bring this and say, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking at between a rock and a hard place. It's kind of formed a sideways channel. It's spent a lot of time down here at the bottom, and it really respects this top side here. So again, a lot of this is definitely more kind of leaning me towards a bearish position. It has pulled back. It is now kind of retracing a little bit to grab some more orders, and it does appear that it wants to go lower. And this zone that spent so much time there, not as worried about it. See a little hiccup here, but I really don't see too much until we get back down to this level. All right. All right, going across and looking at dollar CAD. So, dollar CAD is kind of in, as I mentioned, kind of in one of those little Harry Potter things. It's momentum breakout, right? Up, pop, and then going higher. So it's cleared a zone that I was looking for. I was trying to figure out how it was going to react, and it's spent some time here. It went here, kind of came up again, hit it again, pulled back, and then finally just blew through it. And again, what it's using is that area of sellers as an area of buying now, right? It came up, it retouched, and now it's kind of taken off the last 12 hours. It's more or less been straight up since about noon, right? It's been kind of just pushing back up again, and we've moved all the way from what 132.12 all the way up to 132.50. Okay, so again, about a 40 pip move during the day. Not horrible. I mean, for the day, you guys can see that the dollar CAD has only gone up 14 from where it was yesterday. But again, a lot of this is because it was here yesterday last night, and it came down and then moved back up again. Again, bounce off a simple level. Looking at this one on the higher time frames, figuring out where it can go, at least on the daily, it looks like we probably have some clear, some clear sailing, maybe a little bit of a hiccup, but it looks like we can get back up to the 133 area. It's only about 60 pips from where we are. And even dropping down the 4-hour level, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a hiccup around 132.80-ish maybe. But again, price pulled all the way back into this zone, this level of basing up here at 132.93. And at that point, we were within striking distance of round number. So I think we'll probably get, somewhat of a kind of a suck up into that 133.00 number. That wouldn't surprise me. And again, any type of dollar strength this week, any type of dollar news, this definitely has the ability to pop. As I mentioned too, again, we have some CAD news later in the week. Where was it? Right here. Again, this could be a kind of a slow move, but I think most of it will be driven by the dollar. I think the CPI on Wednesday would be kind of the first push, and again, maybe even a little bit tomorrow. All right, for any type of dollar strength. If we hear anything about trade war tomorrow, any tweets with trade war that it's kind of going away, that we're making agreements, again, that is another kind of catalyst that will spike us up over 133. Okay. My other chat guys is they're I guess I'm saying some new words tonight that they haven't heard before, so they're they're over there making a list of all the terminology I'm using for tonight's webinar. And lastly, looking at the dollar yen. Okay. Dollar yen, we had this nice, you guys remember this? We're talking about the Qatar trade, right? We went very, very deeply into it, and we talked about how it probably wouldn't hold much longer. We went very, very deeply again, and then its next shot, number 3, went all the way through, tagged that upper level. Okay, we've gone down, we pushed, we've tagged the upper level, and then bam, we pulled back today. So kind of doing what we expected it to do, bouncing off these levels to the top side. Again, not really enough in this one to really start kind of weakening the dollar and kind of shooting it to the downside. Unfortunately, because we have a bit of a gap up here on the daily, makes it a little bit more confusing to look at on that analysis. But again, on the 4-hour, it's pretty clean. You can see what we have. Again, we had, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was right here. And again, Friday is what's pushing us down. All we did today was we pushed down and then retraced. So doesn't look like it moved a ton. But as you can see, basically, here's the gap. And again, I'm going to say it again. Here's your gap strategy. Okay, there's your risk in this trade. There was your entry. And again, your movement to the downside. Again, Sunday night gaps is a great strategy. And again, 30 pips to the downside. So another little kind of small one that you guys were able to take had you been taking these Sunday night trades. Again, as things start to come online Sunday nights, so does Nadex. Not a bad thing that you can start placing some trades for overnights. One of my students today had a great trade. He was done when he woke up this morning, and those are the ways that we love to do it. We always talk about how waking up in the green is the best way. Where we are now, again, we're still very, very high in the curve. We are bouncing off areas of selling. I would have to say at this point I'm a bit bearish. The only thing that, kind of where we are right now, I'm not going to use the current zone that it's in to sell off of. I'm not going to just take shorts here, even though we are in an area of selling. I think I'm going to wait until we get back up to this 109.40 area before I'm willing to take anything that's clean, right? We've already pulled away from it. At any moment, there could be some type of agreement signed with China, and which would eliminate, the trade war, which, again, my opinion is that it's not necessarily as big a deal as everybody's making it out to be. I was projecting it would all be done, in November at this time, and that's what we're starting to see. So I'm pretty sure by year end, it'll almost be completely done. There's just minor kind of hiccups here and there, but I'm pretty sure the agreement is done, and I think that's going to give us some dollar strength. I do think it'll bring us back up, but until we get back up, if you're not already in a position, I'd be holding off on this one until 109.40. And again, CPI, retail sales, any of those numbers has the ability to kind of bump that up that high. You're only talking about 30, 40 pips to that area, and then I'd be looking for somewhat of a retrace to the downside. Okay. And again, you can trade that with binaries or spreads depending on the day. All right. So with that said, okay, that is the end of the charts. If you guys have questions, like I said, I know that I definitely do have a different trading style than a lot of people out there. Again, I focus on Price action, candles, wicks. Again, this Monday we were a little bit slow. We didn't have a whole lot, but we do have a lot of news coming later this week. I do focus a lot on 4 hour. So if you have questions, you guys are more than welcome to email me, support@keeptradingsimple.com. The rest of the week at 9 o'clock p.m., we will have broadcasts on Twitch, twitch.tv/keeptradingsimple, as well as on Instagram. You'll be able to see some of the setups that we have. That's kind of it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will be back on next Monday at the same time. Hopefully, we get a little bit more Sunday into Monday movement. And for those of you that have been able to figure out kind of what my Sunday night gap strategy is, definitely next Sunday, go check those things out. Do the homework on Friday or Saturday. Look to see where prices ended and see if you guys can set up some of those Sunday night gaps for yourself. You guys have a great trading week, and I'll talk to you next week. All right. So I'm pretty sure you guys are still here. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Do a little bit of a continued non-normal ones here. I'm sure you guys are asking for your pip chips. So hold on. Let me get your pip chips ready. Copy. Boom. There we go. Volume is good. All right. Figured you guys would. Thank you guys for logging in. Hopefully you guys are able to see that. I was trying at first I didn't realize it. Like I did that when I put it on. I was like, all right, I gotta make sure I click the buttons this time. And I didn't realize that I had the sound on Twitch, so I was hearing like myself talk. I was like, oh God, it's all messing up. And I was like, so I just shut it down real quick. So it started back up again, and I'm glad I figured out what it actually was. I was all kind of worried about it. I was like, oh God, I'm like, it's messing up. And then I realized what it was. So, oh, look at that. We got a big star. My boy Q up in New York. Thank you, sir, for subscribing again. I appreciate it. All right, so let's go over the other ones. Like I said, Monday was somewhat flat today. It wasn't the kind of the biggest mover. A lot of things kind of retraced back again. Ryan, I know you were stuck in that pound trade. It was an absolutely great setup. It retraced back and then just literally it hit that 50 mark and just died on you. It was like wah wah wah, and it was flat for the rest of the day. And again, that's going to happen when the markets are kind of where we are, right? What was I doing? Oh, on the 15th. Okay. All right, so look at this pair again. We're still pulling off this Aussie New Zealand. I think the Aussie is going to have a pretty big week as far as movement goes, just because, again, with a couple of those news releases at night, and with New Zealand supposed to be cutting rates, I think that's going to start carrying over into the Aussie. All right, so not necessarily a bad position to be able to get into. Where we are now, we are pulling back. We are in an area of basing, but it's really spreading a lot of, it's been a bunch of time. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you guys are looking at it over here, you guys can see what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Basically 7 hours of just complete sideways movement. It is somewhat below an area where we had basing before in the past. You guys can see that we had the basing here. And again, drop sideways, drop to the downside. A huge spike up. And again, that's a pretty nice little spike up there, right? So there is some potential kind of retracements here, but it's going to have to be inside of the spot currency world. So if you guys are not, comfortable taking those, again, that's kind of what you're looking for. It'd be kind of similar to what we have up here. What I would do is I drop this to the lower time frame, look for some type of a confirmation, that red, green, red to the downside, drop it to a 5 or 10 minute, and then see if you can kind of take this one back and take it to most likely this level right here, down to 107.70. Okay, so not huge, about 30 pips, but wait till we get the confirmation. We don't quite have it yet. Let's look at the pound Aussie. All right, so same type of pop with the pound. And again, a lot of people were confused. I actually got an email about this today. Like, wait a second, all the pound stuff was bad. Why is there so much strength? And a lot of this has to do with the fact that basically the pound, with everything going on, has still managed to keep itself out of a recession. Because they haven't started cutting rates or anything. Like, I guess the consensus is that they're not going to. They don't have any plans to, that they're going to hold tight with what they got. And again, that says a lot about this position. They feel very confident. And the fact that they're not planning on cutting rates like everybody else says a lot. And again, that's giving this some pound strength. Again, this was one very interesting too. Even though all that kind of strength came in, look what we bounced off of. We talked about that before, right? last, what was it, Thursday night we talked about it. I said we were sitting inside of this area here, right? We talked about, nice little basing level. It did pull back, right, from there. And look at that, as far as an area that we could take off of, right? There's your risk level. Look at that. Nice pullback. And again, where price came back before it retraced was also where we had that level of basing, where we had these two gold bars at, right? That were based off of probably in here. I forget what we drove it off of. Oh, it was off of here. This is where our refinement was. So again, not a bad little bounce off this daily zone. Went straight back up again. It took forever to go down, and again, nice little bounce, right? So not a bad little kind of profit area here. Okay, that one, if you were able to grab that one, again, 190 pips, right? And if you were concerned about it, there's your green, there's your red, and then there's your green pop. Okay, so you did get actually a retest off of this zone. It pushed away, came up, grabbed some orders here, pulled back, grabbed again, and then again, even if you want to do this, green, red, green, another retracement, boom, straight up. So a couple different opportunities to be able to get in this one. It came back and tested a few times. This was also a Friday to Sunday gap right here. Okay, now this one took a little bit longer, right? You may have gotten scared on it. Here's your 30-minute gap, right? And what did it do? So again, instead of taking all this risk, all I would have taken is this level of risk here. Okay. I didn't take this one. I actually fell asleep. I had it marked off. I'm not going to lie. But again, able to take this level of risk, came back and touched here, and touched here, and you barely took any heat in this whatsoever. And again, once you cleared here, you were risk-free. Okay. But yeah. So again, pound Aussie. Let's see, what else did we not look at? Look at Euro Aussie. Yeah, you looked at it and got scared. Isn't that funny? Yeah. All right, so this guy pulled all the way back. Now, this was an interesting position, okay? We had this level of basing, and again, spent a lot of time here. It wasn't the hottest level. We hit it once, and again, we never got back up there again. We kind of just based. And then if you actually enter this position, it kind of went up, down, up, down, up, down, and then finally in the last couple, basically the last hour and a half, this thing finally rallied. But it just kept sitting there, boom, boom, boom. If you were in this position, you definitely should have got out of it. Again, it came down, went up, came down just a little bit lower, came up, came down again, and then started to flip. You just get out. It spent way too much time, and it basically went from 8:30 this morning till 8 o'clock tonight in the same exact spot. Okay, if you're in a trade and it hasn't moved in 12 hours, just get out. Okay, there's no momentum, there's no power, there's no nothing left in that trade. It's just not worth it, right? Now, at this point, we have pushed above, but just barely. Okay, there's no room for Harry Potter, no nothing. Again, remember, too, right above this kind of flat zone here, you guys can see there's a very, very big wick over wick. This is where the start of this kind of downward move is. So if anything, I'd probably wait until we get a little bit higher. I'd really like to see this position kind of get a nice burst. If we can get some Aussie weakness tomorrow and we start getting pushes up, I'd like to start grabbing some of the cleaner levels that we have a little bit higher versus all this kind of chop and sideways movement. But again, interesting enough, look at that. We missed this when we got front run. This piece all the way back here, that's what it turned off of. So again, these things have been traveling from top to bottom, and this is, again, on the bottom side, daily levels have been really good. Again, it burst here, but this time it didn't even make it. You got front run on this position and rallied all the way back up. So some nice movement. Pound New Zealand. So for pound Aussie, instead of taking the large risk, you waited for the higher low setup and took that with the limited risk trade. Or now you have me totally confused with my higher lower. You saying this one? This one right here, Q? Yeah, this. Yeah, I mean, so this zone is big, right? I mean, again, on the daily, right? I mean, you're looking at taking 111 pip risk. No, thank you. You know I'm not interested in that. But when you drop it down lower, again, where did we end? I mentioned this last week. I said if we end inside of this level, there could be a great trade setup. And look, I'm going to delete this just to get out of the way so you can see. Okay. This purple line is obviously where we were. Okay, here's my risk level. Here's Friday. What did I tell you? If we end in that zone on Friday, I'd definitely be looking for longs from that area. Okay. We gapped in the direction of the long. Now again, could you say that we were trending north? Sure. I mean, here's Friday. Here's actually Thursday. We were in a near-term uptrend. Okay. What did we do? We gapped above in the direction of the trend, which means we use the gap candle as our risk level. So what we do is we take this, again, we can mark up the whole thing. And again, do I like 35 pips risk? No, not necessarily. But again, was it there? Yeah, I looked at it. And when it came back down again, I was like, okay. And again, I could have dropped it a little bit lower. Not too much, though. I mean, I could have shrunk it just a tad there. But I typically do on the 30-minute. And had you done it here, if you dropped it to 28, you missed it. Although that last one being a doji, you probably wouldn't. Yeah, you basically would have had to use the whole thing. You would have had to use the 30-minute, unfortunately. Again, there's your risk, 38. And again, just a spike here from 5 to 7, just this 2-hour window, you're talking about 162 pips. $6.84 per. $62. And again, they're risking it at 38 pips. What did I say? 37? It's 37.3. So 37 times 6.84, 250. So not a bad position, right? And again, that's where the profit target, you would have gone back to here. Again, the start, you could have taken this as a near-term one. Well, actually, no, you wouldn't have gone because we've already pushed it there. So this would have been your profit target right about there. Okay, so I'll shrink that down. Let's just say if the conservative number was there was 133. So 133 times 684, 909. And you're out at 7:30 this morning. Maybe, Ernest, you should just purchase a magnifying sound device with all those pip tips. So yeah, so not a bad little position off that one. All right. All right. Over at CAD yen. Is that a new item in the store? I can make one, I'm sure. I will tell you guys, so check this out. So, in talking to Nadix today, I don't know why, like Nadix must really like me lately. So, Nadex is going to do they're trying to put together a promotion now for like the 12 days of Christmas. And like basically, I don't know all the rules to it, but they asked me, they're like, hey, would you be interested in participating in this 12-day Christmas? I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, that's fine, whatever, because they obviously, they want people to trade, and during Christmas time and in December in general, they don't, there's not as much business because not as many people trade during December. If you've met your year, you're basically done. You just don't trade in December, but so they're trying to get people to trade, right? So like we love to do like a some type of a giveaway or a contest. I was like, I'd participate in it. They're like, you would? I was like, yeah, I don't care. What do you want to do? I was like, what do you want? I was like, do you want a class? I'll donate a class. So they're looking for the grand prize to be like a vacation. I think that's what they're working on, maybe, is what they said. They don't know if they're going to be able to do it or not. But it looks like I'm giving away a class and 2 hours worth of mentoring for the 12 days of Nadex's Christmas. So it should be interesting. I've been really good. Vanessa. Yeah, it's not my 12 days of Christmas. It's theirs. They're the one that gives the present out. But I will tell you guys. So I need it. I'm looking for the timelines. I don't think I'm going to actually be able to make the December trip. My mom has something that weekend, and there's like 12 different things, and I just don't know that I'm going to be able to swing it. But what I was thinking about I could do is I could send a care package to James or Ernest and have one of those two guys bring it. So anybody that attends the dinner will get a Christmas present. Winner gets a. Hey, if you want a tour of the Nadex offices in Chicago, let me know. I can hook you up anytime you want. Vanessa's like, I'll take the mentoring. Yeah, so anybody that attends the Chicago, or not the Chicago, see, you got me all crazy now, guys, with locations. Anybody that attends the dinner, I'm going to send out a present to you guys. I'm going to send it to Ernest or James's house and have those guys bring it over. So, and then so when you guys are taking all your pictures of your, crazy meets, right? all the crazy meets. You guys are, you have to take some pictures. All right, so looking at CAD yen. CAD yen had a great run up last week, right? We talked about it. Great entry, right, on Thursday. And what did it do? It went all the way down to our profit target, and then it basically just sat down here, right? You guys can see there's Sunday. Um, right in here was the Friday to Sunday. Where's it? Right here. Okay. Now, this one was a little bit harder of a play. You may or may not have caught this one again with price basing. Okay, so in this one, you would have had to say, okay, we're a little bit lower. We've just bounced off this zone. Price is pushed down again. And again, was this a Sunday night gap? Yes, it just was a Sunday night gap. Okay. Now, question is, would you have taken it? It moved about 60 pips to the downside. So yes, again, your profit target would have been about the same. I probably would have said because it hit this line already once, I probably would have pushed a little bit lower and just taken it at the red. It was a potential target. The risk on this one was about 8 pips, and the downside target on this one, actually, this one was not as strong. Okay, this was only about 15 to the downside, so not huge. So you may not have taken this one just based off of where it was. But again, it was another one of those kind of valid setups. So with that being said, where price is right now on this one, I'm a little bit leery for any type of a position. Hopefully, it's able to bust out of this area. We have this gap in the basing level here. It's respected it twice. We obviously have this section down here where we respected it. And if it does even go lower than that, again, we have the daily zone. So again, where the CAD yen is right now between kind of these two zones, we're kind of smack sitting right at the middle. I do expect that we will break through. Again, this was the zone. Here was one. Here's kind of a second attempt, but here, this one drove in, popped up, and now it's pushing through again. So we're kind of at 3. I'm expecting this zone to break, and again, there'd be to some run back down, but you're looking at a break from here. And you're only talking about 30 pips, so kind of got a lot of stuff squished in a little area. Um, it's not as clean as this one was last week, unfortunately. If we do start to get any type of rally up, or if we get a spike into this area, there could be potentially something in there. I don't know that I would trade another short off of this area. Like I said, very, very short. But if we're able to get something up into, I mean, even this zone is not horrible. Like somewhere into here, again, it's about a 10 pip range in there. If we're able to get some type of a spike with CAD news this week up into this area, I wouldn't mind taking a short off of that area. Take something small. It's only about a 10 pip risk. Take it to the downside. Obviously, spot currency only. This is not a index-based pair, so that could be, that could be a nice little trade. And then again, profit target will be back down to this lower level. Okay, I just don't think there's going to be too much. Big things that you guys should be looking out for this week. Again, one thing that I mentioned in the index presentation too, with crude oil being on Thursday, it will be a little bit different. And I think it depends. I don't know how long Powell's speaking. If he's still speaking, I feel like the crude oil number may be a little bit muted this week, just being on a different day and, again, a little bit later. So we'll see. I'm not, James would be the guy to look to on that one. Have James talk to his guy and then ask James later on when he talks to his second guy. That would probably be the best way to kind of trade that one. We'll see what it looks like, and I'll pull up those charts Wednesday night. We'll see what we have going on with that one. But I do think that retail sales is going to be a big thing this week. And again, tomorrow night, definitely looking in this New Zealand. So let me pull New Zealand quick because we don't do that for Nadex. What are you saying? It's a bunch of smoked meats by Ernix and a mason jar of moonshine with James. I'm still going. Ernest talks too much junk. I'm still going, even though. Careful. Ernest today was throwing around all the weights in the gym, right? All the weights. Now, obviously, you guys know why this one is moving because of the New Zealand number here. Again, this one dropped a little bit. Again, not too much difference, but again, lowering inflation, which again means that, hey, listen, our inflation's going down, we can lower rates. Okay, and again, we know that the rate cut is coming in. So now, one thing about this one as well, we do have a pretty nice spike here. It is going back into a gap, right? I'll do this one here. I'll mark this one off for you. So there was the play today on this one, okay? And I'm just going to leave this here and not talk about it. There. There. Oh, I guess I should do this on the downside. Oh, here, hold on. Let me do it right. Not the one I want to change. This one. I was actually kind of surprised I did not see this today anywhere. Posted this one because this did give us a pretty clean entry. Now, again, not the perfect setup. Typically, we like, again, it was obviously trending to the downside. This one went above the downtrend, so it was a bit of a pullback situation. So again, that will, a lot of times signify somewhat of a reversal, and that's what we got. We got a reversal. We got a pop. It literally went right back into a basing area, and again, news cracked, right? Again, you guys can see it over here, right? Where was price right before the news came out? Boom, and then collapsed. Okay. All right. Now again, 36 pips is a little bit bigger risks, but it was in a nice little basing area that you could have grabbed. So where we are now, again, we are kind of getting lower. I actually think that this one is going to make a attempt and a push to go lower. I think this one wants to go back down below, 63. It's only got about 20 pips before it reaches that. I think it should be able to get down there. I'm trying to figure out where it's going to run into a bottom. I think 63 right here with this kind of this single wick and this little tiny nub on the other side. I think that's where we're going to run into something. It's kind of this little bit right here. You guys can see it's like this, right? I think that's what we're going to slow down on. Whoops, not that. Oh, delete. No. Oh, turn off. Yeah, I believe this is where we're going to slow down, is in that zone. Okay. To the downside, we'll see if we get any bit of a pullback. Like I said, it's moving. Again, with inflation being down, it basically saying, yep, there's no problem for you to lower interest rates. So we'll see. I think the trade's gone right now. Again, if you want to trade this pre, you were fine. If you traded Sunday night gap, you were fine. Where we are now, again, we're sitting inside of a gap as well as a demand zone. But again, nice little push to the downside. All right. On that. What are you guys typing out? But we should try to make it a semi-annual or annual thing like KTS Trade Show, build lifelong friendships and networking. Yeah, I'm gonna do one in the spring as well. I'm gonna make sure that I make the trip out in the spring. I'm not sure when. Um, Probably before lacrosse season, because once lacrosse season happens, it gets a little bit harder. But probably March timeframe. We start games in April, and that's obviously going to be totally out. But yeah, I'm gonna probably shoot for March is what the goal is, and I'll do. It's probably going to be like a 2-day event. Um, like we'll do like a Friday dinner on Saturday, dinner on Friday night. And what I'm thinking about doing is doing a. So the layout that I'm thinking for is basically Friday will be like a closed session, kind of mentoring, kind of these are every strategy that we have type situation. And it'll be kind of like a closed like mastermind group. And then we'll do, obviously Brazilian steakhouse works totally fine. I'm cool with that. On Friday night, and then what we'll do is we'll do like a Saturday kind of more generalized session. Um, Again, there's a couple different things we could, go over that, and that'll be more kind of open to kind of the public, or not public, but like newer students type thing. But we'll do a bit of a mastermind on Friday, and again, anybody that lives close obviously can attend both of them, and anybody else. So I want to make sure it's worthwhile for people that are coming in town. So again, I think between the mastermind, um, or maybe I'll do it the opposite way. Maybe we'll do something like Friday afternoon is the generalized one, dinner, and then we'll do the mastermind on Saturday since we don't necessarily need the charts. And that way people can fly out Saturday night or Sunday or do whatever they want to do. BYOB, maybe BYOPC. You guys can bring your own PCs, but I do believe we will have a Mac ban on by that point. Vanessa, I'm just kidding. You can bring your Mac if you want. But if you ask me any questions about how to fix it, I have no idea. And just don't put it anywhere near Ernest. I feel like he would get very angry if you sat down next to him with a Mac. Maybe you'll have to put James between you guys, and James is like the iPhone buffer, But as we get closer and closer, again, we'll figure it out. But like I said, just so many of you guys live around Dallas. Dallas is in the middle of the country. It's a cheap airport to fly to. I think that'd be the best location for us to put it. All right. Mrs. Mac is the devil. Yeah, get that meme up there, James. I love that one. All right, guys. So that's about all we have for tonight. Like I said, we'll be back on tomorrow. It'll be our normally regular scheduled chart school. We'll run through a couple more things. And again, I think tomorrow night should be pretty interesting with the New Zealand news. It'd be interesting to see how it lines up with the wage index first. Now, Also, just a word of warning, I didn't mention it to Nadex because I know you guys trade other things as well. Watch this one tomorrow. Okay. He's speaking, and he's either going to follow the script that they gave him or he's not. And I have a feeling if he doesn't follow the script, here's the thing. If he's just going to blast the Democrats, we don't have to worry about anything. If he talks about China, the market's going to react to it. So just be cautious about noon tomorrow. Make sure your positions are protected. You got stop losses in, particularly you guys in currencies. Because again, when he speaks, this is going to be kind of more reactive. Again, it'd be more instantaneous than a tweet because not everybody has Twitter, but everybody will hear what the president has to say tomorrow. So just be careful tomorrow. Okay. Maybe you all can come up by Jack and I. Actually, Ryan, I'm trying to get Jack to come down there. Yeah, I talked to Jack for about an hour Thursday, Friday, something like that. So I know what Jack's up to. I know what he's up to. He's bored. He's 30 now, so you know he's old. He's getting nervous, getting gray hair. But yeah, I know what Jack's. I'm trying to get Jack to come down and actually do the one in the spring with me. We'll see. He's got a couple things kind of he's working on, but we'll see. So, all right, let's go ahead and do your giveaway, and then I can get out of here. Man, only 2 people are interested in pip chips tonight. That's pretty interesting. Only 2 people. I have Vic and Ryan fighting over this one. Jack needs to be a guest speaker. Yeah, he's around. Yep. Yeah, Jack is you know, I mean ideally, maybe I'll bring Eva down in the spring. Maybe I'll bring her down and let her like, you know, give you guys a day of training. Like I said, she's done some she's actually done some classroom stuff, I guess. She's used to traveling. Yeah, Eva from Long Island. Yeah. Yeah, she used to travel all the time. I'll see if I can maybe I'll bring her down. I don't know. If you guys are really good, I'll bring, you know, maybe I'll try to get Eva and Rob to come out. Although I don't know. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if I can bring somebody on with me. I actually know some pretty good traders out in Dallas too. That's my second entry. You sure it's working? What do you mean? See, you only got one. Remember, I didn't put it on until I started talking to you guys like directly. So if you put it on before, it's not actually there. I think Vic wants this one again. He got a little taste, like he's like a shark. He got a little bit taste of those pip chips, and now Vic's like, I'm dropping 2 every night. James is not in here. He's like, man, I'm taking advantage of this. He was like, all right, I'm gonna give Vic a run for his money. Josh's daughter is in now. She's going for another free tank of gas. Vanessa's in with one. All right, I'm gonna close it down in 30 seconds. So when it says 27, I'm shutting it down. James is hanging with mom tonight. Yeah, I think James is. I think he had some other stuff to do. Hey, more power to James. Did you guys see what he did? They made like 50 turkeys or something like that. They fed like 300 people or something like that. Yeah, James putting in the work, helping the less fortunate. More power to him. I'm all about that. All right, shutting it down, guys. In 3, 2, 1, and the winner is. Oh, somebody just got a free tank of gas. Look at that. Hey, Ernest, I just want to point out, Ernest, if you look where Josh is at the very, you know, look at that. Look at that. Josh is going to be so excited. Josh's daughter, I'm sure, is excited because I think she got a free tank of gas last time. So it's fixed again. Yeah, right? The hack is back working again. All right, let me make sure I give it to him. Leaderboard. Let's see, where's Josh? Josh, right here. And the reason why Josh is low, guys, because Josh actually just redeemed his Actually, can I see redemptions in here? I wonder if I can. Redemptions. Yeah, there we go. Josh just popped his in here. So you guys can see how this is working out. Ryan's finishing up his. Josh has got something to do. And good old FX Jones. So Josh unfortunately had family come in town, so he hasn't got a chance to do his yet. But we're supposed to do it next week. And then Sean, same thing. All right. So again, people are using these things, getting the time in. All right. And don't forget too, this is going to change. This changes as soon as I put up the parabolic retracement course, which you guys saw. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw. Oh, that's right. You guys can't. I forgot. You guys can't see it. Where is it? Where is it? So as I build them out, this is what it looks like right now. You guys can see them in here. I have the there's 3 more that I have to put up. There's 6 lessons in total. The Nadex one is the longest one. I don't know if you guys can see it. Touch brackets. Whoops. Gone through all kinds of stuff. So yeah. So this is up some of the secondary recordings. So yeah. So you guys, well, as soon as that goes up, this one goes to whoops, not that. I want the other thing. Oh yeah, over there. Hold on, I gotta pull this back. As soon as that goes, this one is changing. This will no longer be 250 pip chips because you guys are just monsters. You showed us a screenshot last time. There it is. Yeah, it's a screenshot. I've been refreshing the browser since Saturday. Yeah, just so you guys know, I had to mess with Ernest and Ryan. I sent them kind of the images of it. So, yeah, but that's what it looks like. I mean, it'll be under here. So yours when you load it, it may look like this. So for some reason, when I always go on this page, the 5-minute binary one is always open, so you have to click on the other ones. But again, all this I got to finish updating yeah, they're going in there. There's a new song too, guys, and I love the new song. I don't think you guys can hear system sound, but oh wait, no, you can hear system sound. Let me see if you can hear it. Go. There's your sample. If you guys could hear it, I don't know if you could or not. You can see it. It's actually online and it's there. I just, it's not all there. It'll be there probably tomorrow and that. So, all right. With that being said, I am out of here, guys. I'm gonna go get another tea and start doing more of the writing the copy down. It's all written. I just have to put it in there. Oh, there was no sound on it. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I wonder if I could do that. Hold on. Oh, wait. Oh, I'll do it again. Hold on. I think I figured out. I think you can hear this now. Tell me if you can hear this, Wealth Builder. Welcome to the Parabolic Retracement course. Yeah, there you go. So say there's new entry music for this one. That's part of the fun. But yeah, so yep, see? So it's there and there's new rockin' music. Yeah, it's there. I was actually gonna put the song on tonight for yeah, I like it. Trust me, I've been listening to it for the last couple of days. So yeah, took it up a little bit this time. So but yeah, it'll be up very, very soon. You guys will see it. All right, I'm out of here, guys. You guys take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.